Welcome to the Political Insider, brought to you by our friends at Trade Nation. If you want to trade currencies or commodities, indices, whatever financial instrument you want to trade, give Trade Nation a try. They are one of the world's leading platforms for financial trading. You might just turn out to be a star trading financial markets. We're going to kick off at the Madlanga Commission. Heard from the ultimate doer, the go-between, Sergeant Fani Nkosi. For a sergeant, this guy definitely was an important cog in the whole machinery. He was the communications conduit. Basically, everybody spoke between him. And who was he speaking to? Kat Matlala, Richard Shabiri, Shadrach Sabia. Everybody that is either in jail or should be in jail. And he was coordinating all the movements. And whenever dirty work needed to be done, it was Fani Nkosi that was doing it. Shouldn't surprise anybody, having seen the guy on the witness stand, that he was the person photographed taking white Woolworths bags to Katiso Malefe's house. He's that kind of guy. He admitted that he had a very close relationship with especially Kat Matlala and Shadrach Sabia. And, he inadvertently or advertently somebody's telling the truth, let's put it that way. And if Fani Nkosi is telling the truth, then Shadrach Sabia lied about many things, including the fact that, the story that Sabia said he refused to accept impalas from Kat Matlala, largely because the impalas died. And he said, and never mind the fact that he was taking it from a known criminal, he said, rubbish, the impalas arrived, he accepted them, nothing more to see here. He also had a fanciful story. This is something straight out of, the opposite of a spy novel, one of those sort of spoof movies as to how it works. How he ended up with Kat Matlala's bank card, which was then used for many other nefarious activities. Now, if you were really confused as to what kind of life these people were living, where there was almost no distinction between the cops and the crooks, imagine this. Fani Nkosi used to make regular use of the crime boss, the late King Mswazi, otherwise, Mr. Msibi, who everybody was dead scared of. This guy was such a powerful figure that when he passed away, none other than Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi did the security at his funeral. It's hard to distinguish who's in uniform and who's wearing the mask, which we know criminals no longer wear masks because they hide in plain sight. But this guy Msibi, who was the boss of bosses by the sounds of things, owned a jet ski, and of course he made regular use of this because the man's a bit of an outdoor man, and so did Kat Matlala. He tells a story how he happened to go and pick up the jet ski for his for a day out at Hartbeespoort Dam, as police sergeants do, only to find Kat Matlala's bank card in the compartment on the jet ski. And of course, thereafter, he used the card to buy materials for repairs to Matlala's boat, because that's surely what every policeman has, is a boat. But it appears that Matlala's card was almost used by Nkosi for general expenditure. Yeah, well, it's that sort of stuff happens perhaps in a family, but between a cop and a crook doesn't look so good. One of the more interesting stories was when Sergeant Nkosi was sent to arrest the celebrity blogger Musa Kuwala. And let's understand what this guy was. He was a music blogger who then started to not dig up, but sort of take to social media to peddle some information about some people who were misbehaving. One of those people that was misbehaving was Nkosi and many other policemen's benefactors, Zeke Malo. Zeke Malo, he was famous as this businessman, this thing that we love in South Africa, a businessman. Okay, what was his business? He owned Ubers. He owns many cars that he rents out to Uber drivers. He makes money there. But he's very involved with the taxi industry, and he sits on the board of SA Taxi. He also happened to marry an ex-Miss South Africa, Tamarin Green. And Musa Kawalo had posted that this guy was messing around while Tamarin Green was pregnant. And he also had something to say about Fikile Mbalula, who also is, Mr. Party Animal. And eventually there was this decision that was going to be made that Kawula was going to be arrested, for privacy contraventions and just, I presume, just to give him a signal. So they decided to arrest him at a music concert in Kroonstad. But now they needed tickets. So Zeke Kamalo manages to give them 6 tickets. Now, you would imagine 6 policemen go to collect this music blogger. Only problem is that they were so good at their jobs that they didn't realize that Kawula wasn't at this particular music concert, but that's a separate issue. 6 tickets for police officers, and guess who was the only police officer who wasn't there? Well, it turns out it was the person investigating the case. So they bungled their arrest. But the interesting part was that Nkosi had saved Z Kamalo's name in his phone as Z Kamalo EFF. Now, we do know already that Julius Malema has got a very close relationship with Shadrack Sibiya. In fact, when Shadrack Sibiya appeared before the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, Julius Malema was absent on that day doing party work. It's the first time we've heard a party that isn't the ANC. A lot of these things, Brown Mokgotsi ANC, Suleiman Karim ANC. So the ANC we know is a criminal organization, but it's the first time that we hear sort of a direct link with another political party. So that's really what came out at the Madlanga Commission. This guy is a fixer. Sort of the guy in the office who's prepared to do the dirty work. He didn't know why he was called 007. He said it was because he had zero tolerance for crime, and then somebody added a 0, and then they put a 7. That's why he was called 007, not because he had a license to kill. I mean, really, I don't think that he was up to hiding anything. I think he's just low down on the food chain, but the guys higher up must absolutely wet themselves when a person like this starts talking, because really, he's just going to say what's on his mind. He's not smart enough to play the game, and there's going to be problems going forward for Nkosi, as well as some of the other people that he mentioned. It's now a picture starting to emerge of who the criminal syndicates are. Clearly, you had Msibi at the top. You've got Kat Matlala, Katiso Malefe, Angwani Maumela, and maybe Suleiman Karim. It's starting to look that way. Remember, there's still that other parliamentary ad hoc committee, which has now descended into farce. Why do I say that? Because it's turned into a cross between political debates and a racism extravaganza. As long as you say you are doing things in the name of the new South Africa, that gives you an absolute free rein to do whatever you like. They make zero progress at that parliamentary ad hoc committee. And if you thought it was ridiculous enough, stick around. How about this one? We've now heard that Thabo Bester, you remember him, the guy who murdered people, who kidnapped people, who escaped from jail, wants to go and appear before the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. Well, why not? You're stuck in jail. You need a day out. You go sit there in front of Parliament. They treat you like a king for a day. I presume they serve nice lunches. And this thing just generally goes down the farcical route even more. Before we carry on, if you could choose to be in a room with 2 political analysts and you want to get a balanced view of where people see South Africa going, there are no 2 bigger names in political analysis than Prince Mashele and JJ Tabani, and we've got them both. April the 16th, State of the Nation breakfast. There'll be details below. Come and join us, book a table, come and see what put your question to these guys. These are people in the know whose views are respected. Come and join us, support the channel, and allow us to keep operating. So 16th of April, Prince Mashele, JJ Tabani. Let's move on to more important things. The alleged assassin of Witness D, or Marius van der Merwe, the guy got shot just before Christmas. His name is Matipandile Soteni, and he is an ex-elite special task force policeman who is trained using our money, more than R1 million of it, to become a special police force, a task force member. But he found a more lucrative job than being in the police, as being a hitman. So now the guy's appearing in a court. The one thing we don't know is who paid him to do it, because it's just a gun for hire. And I want to focus just briefly on one thing. Yeah, you've got a hitman. Clearly, this Marius van der Merwe knew too much. He said too much. So you take him out. That's one issue. But I've heard so many people suggest that we need to pay our policemen more money so that they don't get involved in this kind of business. This was even suggested by somebody who has been relatively, impressive at the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, and that is ANC parliamentarian Kola Nola from the ANC. And he even said in an interview that we should be paying police more. And pay everybody, a salary they can live on. But there's no evidence that people will suddenly behave ethically if they get paid a slightly higher salary. I mean, our cabinet ministers are paid more than R2 million a year. And we have seen cabinet ministers that were prepared to compromise themselves for a few bucks more. We saw Malusi Gigaba, who did the Gupta bidding. We saw Fikile Mbalula himself, when he was Minister of Sport, go and enjoy overseas holidays, despite the fact that he had a fat salary. You cannot legislate good character. There's no price. We saw at the Zondo Commission how well-paid prominent politicians, Gwedi Mantashe, today Minister of Minerals, at that time Secretary General of the ANC, Nomvula Mokonyane, the Cabinet Minister, now Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, accept money from Bosasa and gifts. We see the arrest of Vincent Smith, who was a Member of Parliament, well paid, right? And now some people will suggest that by paying them a little more, they wouldn't do it. I do not think that's the case. Ethics can't be bought. These people clearly can be bought, regardless of their position. We need to make sure that of two things. One is that there are consequences when you do this kind of thing, that you end up in jail, as this hitman will end up in jail. But we need parliamentarians to set that example. The other thing that we need to do is there needs to be a social price for this kind of behavior. But social price means that when somebody does something like this, people will not vote for them again. People will shun them. Their friends won't speak to them. That's really what we need. Throughout these commissions, everyone's my brother, this, that, and the other. The person gunned down people, assassinated, killed, stole from hospitals, yet we call him my brother. Policemen are calling him my brother. It is shocking. We need to re-look at our social standing when people perform this kind of behavior. But what can we expect? We've got some compromised people, and now there's a report, a memo that has emerged that was done by a Russian influence agent, code name 9477. When Mr. 9477 and his translator, ahead of the 2024 elections, met with ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula and his advisor Bongani Mbondwane, and they thanked the Russians for their assistance before the elections and stated that they would like this mission to continue to help them, especially with the 2026 elections. But, this then turns into a farce once again, because, gee whiz, they sure as hell didn't do very well. If the ANC could go from 57% to 40%, then clearly this election meddling wasn't too successful. Agent 9477 in his memo describes how Mbalula requested the support from the Russians to shoot a film to coincide with the party's anniversary. And he also, as you would do if you talk on behalf of the ANC, asked for money, like $300,000 or about 5 million rand, to finance the organization at its party conference, because no meeting can go by without the ANC asking for money. The meeting ended with gifts being offered to Mbalula and Mbandwane and their families, because this was just ahead of Christmas, I presume in 2023, according to the memo. You know, the internal documents from an entity called the Company, these are Russian influence agents formerly employed by the Wagner Group. Remember Yevgeny Prigozhin, the guy whose plane magically fell out of the sky after he crossed paths with Putin, Vladimir Putin. Remember, and this document from the Company explains how they carry out disinformation operations and smear campaigns and election interference. Their aim is to keep friendly regimes in power, especially the areas that they're really concerned about is South Africa, Namibia, and Madagascar. I presume geographically quite strategic. Now, in all of those parties, there is political upheaval. In South Africa, we know that the Liberation Movement and ANC's besties, the Russians' besties, the ANCs, have gone from down to below majority. They've only got 40% of the support. Similarly, in Namibia, SWAPO basically looked like they were on track to losing that election and then magically won it at the last minute. And Madagascar, powers changed hands many, many times. So how did the Russians try and influence the last election? This is where it gets quite funny. They launched a website called dumballiance.com, branded with a DA logo, and John Steenhuisen dressed as a clown. They tried to frame the young former DA MP Tim Harris as being Helen Zille's lover and showed them booking into a hotel, documentation, right? I mean, really, if you're going to spread rumors, spread better ones. They launched brilliant online campaigns. One of them, DA racists. Well, I'm sure the DA has never been accused of that before. Or burning the DA flag. I didn't even know. The DA's got a logo, I suppose. Or corrupt DA activists. Clearly, this campaign didn't work at all. They did, however, try to pay South African influencers about $150 to $180 per post that they made on X against the DA. This was confirmed by an influencer, Ntate Williams, who says that he knows because he was offered the money, but he didn't participate. I think that if you're going to try and influence elections in South Africa, probably the DA isn't the place to go after. If you're those, just to give some advice to our Russians that are watching this today, you probably want to discredit them in the eyes of the MK voters or the EFF voters, because you're not going to get a crossover. You're not going to get a DA voter saying, oh, because you call the DA racist, I'm going to vote for the ANC. I don't think it's going to work, and it didn't. But we should stay on guard. The world has become a far more interesting place, and there is no doubt that people are trying to wield political influence. So we'll keep on this, but this was a bit of a cartoonish effort to influence the elections, which clearly didn't work. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Political Insider. Thank you to our partners at Trade Nation. Go and check out their website tradenation.co.za. Thank you for watching the Political Insider. We'll see you again soon.